Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Streaming Alchemy. I'm John Mahoney, and on today's show, we're going to be taking both a feature and a technical look at the newly announced NDI 5, which was just announced this past Wednesday by the VizRT group. That was sort of formerly NewTek and the folks there. So we're really excited to be talking about that. But before we get into that, I'd like to invite everybody, please, if you have any questions or want to make any comments, please just post in the comment section below, and we'll definitely discuss this, whatever question you have, on air. Also, we'd love to have you join us live here on the show. So if you'd like, just go to the URL below. That's also in the show notes, so you could just copy and paste, and you should be good to go. Somebody here will get you on air. So thank you all for joining me. This past Wednesday, if anybody had any connection to the NDI ecosystem, you're probably aware that NDI 5 was announced. And the biggest thing in NDI 5 is that the architecture underneath it and a lot of the tools that come with it are now designed to work across a wide area network as well as within a local network. So that's a pretty big deal for a lot of the styles of productions that are going on today. So what I wanted to do as we talk about NDI is not just touch on all the features, but I wanted to go into some of the technical underpinnings so we can dive in more deeply to how you could actually deploy this in your own production and own studio environments. So before we get there, I see Rudy joined us. So Rudy, thank you for being here. Always good to see you. So one of the things that NDI is known for are their free tools. And this new release is no exception. They do have all the usual suspects that we've grown to know and love, but they've added 3 new ones, and those are the ones that we're going to be focused on in today's show. The first one is NDI Bridge, and NDI Bridge is a wide area connector that will allow NDI to basically transport across the internet. So you could have multiple remote locations connecting to a core studio hub. The second tool is NDI Remote. And effectively, NDI Remote is a basic WebRTC remote camera video audio connector. So it will allow you to connect remotely using WebRTC into a studio. And so that was the second sort of big shift with what goes on broadly. The other is NDI Audio Direct. And now this is, for the first time, NewTek is really starting to look at the audio side of NDI and trying, I think, in many ways to position it vis-a-vis protocols like Dante in the audio-video space. So definitely a nice entry to see in the lineup of tools that are being introduced here. So the other thing, though, is we are going to also talk a bit about the technical enhancements that have gone on sort of under the hood for NDI 5. And there's a lot of good things that side as well. But let's get started by looking at NDI Bridge. NDI Bridge effectively advertises and transports NDI over a wide area network. And for anybody that's trying to do distributed productions, remote productions, where you have groups in one location that are running a show in another, if you want to do things that are cloud-based, anybody who's doing deployments in AWS, having that ability to work with NDI across the internet is going to be a very welcome introduction. The way NDI Bridge shares NDI feeds is through something called NDI groups. Now, NDI groups were part of access managers. So in the past, you would be able to group things and let different people on your local LAN see different groups. Now, this is how sharing is done across the wide area network. You bundle different NDI feeds into groups, and then you share those groups through NDI Bridge. The other thing is that NDI Bridge will maintain support or transparency for all of the core NDI capabilities that we're used to. So that would be alpha channel. And the big reason that's important is, say you had somebody that was doing remote graphics and you needed to have them be able to ingest that into a centralized studio or a cloud-based studio, having alpha channel lets that happen pretty easily. You also have PTZ control. And what PTZ control will give you is the ability to control cameras at a remote venue. The thing that you'll have to keep in mind when you do that sort of remote PTZ manipulation is that there is some more latency introduced by the wide area hop. So you may need to really do this as a way to set up presets more than do tracking and other things, because that latency could end up making that a little less accurate than you're used to in a local network. The next thing is it has KVM, which is really exciting for me because that means you can actually take and control any system that is in a remote location and have full desktop control of that using NDI KVM. So really, really powerful. And of course, it has things like tally and metadata, which are things that are sent sort of over side channels inside the NDI protocol. So before we get into the technical stuff on NDI Bridge, I just wanted to thank, we have had a lot of people join us. So we've had Peter joined us from Berlin. We have Kim from Norway. Wolfgang is coming to us from Germany. And Gersh. So Gersh, thank you very much, all of you, for stopping in here and saying hello. Definitely enjoy having you here. So with all of these as the core capabilities, if we start to think more about the technical details, this is where it becomes interesting. So NDI Bridge uses a protocol called RUDP, Reliable User Datagram Protocol. So it's basically a way to transport packets reliably over an unreliable network, basically like the internet, where you don't, everything isn't local and you have different latencies, different paths, other things you have to worry about. So this is in many ways similar to SRT. It basically, both of them are based on reliable UDP-based transport protocols, and they wrap other types of bundles inside that. It could be video, it could be data, it doesn't matter. And that's actually why everything that you see that's supported in local NDI can be supported across Bridge, because it's using sort of a video agnostic transport protocol for this. The other piece, though, is that it does require a public IP address and a port, which means you will have to do port forwarding at least on one end. I don't have all the details lined up around this, but at least on one end, you will still need to do port forwarding in order to establish the connection. And the way NDI Bridge is set up is they have hosts, and then they have people that join those hosts. And so in the host will advertise on a public IP with a port, and everybody that wants to join will go there with the host just looking at that port for anybody that's looking to connect. So that's sort of the basic underlying technical connection protocol there. The other thing that is exciting, and I believe this information is correct, is that you can support multiple NDI connections over a single port. So one of the things for anybody that's used SRT, SRT connections to a location will all use the same IP, but they will all need, each individual audio video feed will need its own port to connect to. So having a protocol and a packaging around that protocol that only requires a single port makes setup much, much easier. Everybody that's dealt with IT knows getting them to go and open up a port is sort of a moving heaven and earth, and getting them to do 10 ports is probably impossible. So having a single port could be a big benefit there. The other thing, and this is definitely important, it's that it works with both NDI HX and NDI FB, so the full bandwidth version of NDI. And why this is important, and this is why I sort of did it in this order, is that everything that you will be setting up and sending in groups, it can be any NDI source. So it can be cameras, which are HX. It can be feeds from CG systems or other types of graphics that are full NDI, or local cameras that are full NDI. So all of these bundled together in a group can now be transported. And the other thing that NDI Bridge can do is it can convert all signals into NDI HX or NDI full bandwidth as needed. So this is definitely pretty cool.